Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We discuss all kinds of fictional monsters, creatures, and beasts, from the alien to the mythological and supernatural, from all corners of popular culture. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and
I'm your other host. Oh my God, Joe, there's a full moon. Oh my God, I'm just kidding. I'm your other host, Khalid. You know how we do. We have fun. I'm joshing.
That was good, Khalid.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Good. I just got an elliptical the other day, so I'm on workout number 3. I do an hour in the morning and an hour when I get home from work because everything else is closed.
Look at you. Good for you.
Yeah, it'll be like a coat rack in 2 weeks, but I'm bragging for now.
Still, I mean, getting fit.
I'm trying. I'm coming for you, Jason Momoa.
Watch out.
Yeah.
We got a special guest today, Khalid.
Is it Jason Momoa? Because that would be really awkward.
Would have been a great segue, wouldn't it have?
It would have.
Yeah, no. Our guest today is a young man by the name of Collin Brehmer, who is a movie fan, podcaster, and self-proclaimed pop culture fanatic with a love for all things supernatural. Collin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up?
What up?
How's it going, guys? It was hard not to come in on both the full moon bit or the Jason Momoa bit.
Yeah, you had to hold out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you love your bits. We know you love your bits.
I want to see Jason Momoa in a werewolf movie.
That would be so redundant. Like the werewolf would probably be in worse shape.
Yeah, I mean that's primo casting right there.
Guys, let's be honest. Taylor Lautner did the best werewolf we're ever gonna get. So everything else is just redundant.
Yeah, I mean this is diet Taylor Lautner right now. We're working our way up there.
Yeah, no, we couldn't just like jump into the deep end with a Taylor Lautner werewolf.
No. You need to train.
All right, Collin, before we jump into everything, I got a couple questions for you as we ask all guests. Are you ready?
Yeah, shoot.
All right, so this first one's a 2-part question because potentially it could be the same answer for both or not. The question is, in all of pop culture, what is your favorite monster? And to add to that, if it's not the same, what do you think is the scariest monster for you?
Okay, so I was thinking about this because I heard you ask Nikki it because I listened to that episode. And I think on my mulling, I'm going to go with the Deadites from the Evil Dead movies for my favorite monster. I mean, for me, they're like the perfect marriage of horror and camp. Like it's clearly a bunch of VFX artists having a really fun time coming up with all these rad designs, and they're gory and disgusting, but they're also like very charming. The monsters, it's weird, but they just so love being demons. It's their favorite thing. And like whenever they're terrifying anybody, they're so giddy about it. I don't know. I love those. I love those movies a lot.
Great choice. You like Evil Dead 1 and 2 and Army of Darkness?
Yeah, I think Evil Dead 2 is really where probably like one of my first loves of the campy horror, and that one's the peak for me. And actually, Evil Dead 1, same year as this movie we're talking about today.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you ever watch the show that they did with Bruce Campbell?
Yeah, I watched, I think there might be like 3 seasons. I watched definitely 2 of them. It had a lot of promise, but I think it might have maybe overstayed its welcome a little bit. But it was still like really fun to revisit that world.
I liked like the first season and then maybe a little bit of season 2, but I agree. It never fully lived up to what it could have been.
No, yeah. Like at one point it's bordering on kind of just continuation for continuation's sake, but it was just fun to revisit that character like 20 years later.
Yeah, definitely. Bruce Campbell, man, what an American gem. He's just got like such a like steady, reliable career.
Yeah, and I love how committed he is to that role and a lot of the roles he takes, and has so much fun with it.
Let's not forget his greatest role, Jack of all trades. That
God, Khalid, I was
Sean-
just going to say the same thing.
Were you about to say it?
Oh, yeah. Stole my bit.
I'm sorry.
What
But
show?
no, yeah. It's called Jack of all trades, and he basically, according to this show, was responsible for everything that led to the invention of America, right, Joe?
Yeah.
I'm not
It's a
familiar
great
with this.
show.
I thought you guys were going to riff on Burn Notice. I've never even heard of this show.
No, it's from the 90s. It's a classic.
Okay. All right.
Let's not throw dirt on Burn Notice's name, guys. I will not. I will not
Okay.
accept that.
I'm sorry. I didn't know this was a Burn Notice podcast.
First and foremost.
Yeah. All right. This is All right. All right.
So-
I'll back off.
So then would the Deadites also be your scariest monster too?
No, I don't think so. Those are too fun to be scary for me.
Right.
I think that the scariest monster would be probably the scary stories to tell in the dark books.
Yeah.
That I think I'm going to go with those. And it's kind of a cheat because it's a collection of monsters. But those images were just so gnarly as a kid for me. And like the premises of the stories were always so simple, like a creature kind of slowly stalking somebody, like methodically, and it was just very simple. And I don't think anything's ever scared me the way those do.
Yeah, it's a great gateway for kids to get into horror. And when you think about it, like they're truly scary. They're not like kid horror, I feel like, even though they're marketed as kid horror, like it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, that imagery in those books is pretty gruesome for what is essentially a kid's series. And I remember
Right.
that's how I got into them was a kid. I remember I would go to the library and rent or check out cassette tapes, recordings of the books. And I owned all the books, but the guy who recorded them was just so creepy that I would just listen to them. I would set up a tent in my backyard and listen to them.
That's a fun memory.
It was
Backyard
horrifying.
tent,
I
scary
would
stories.
lose so much sleep over it. It was it's like a toothache that you can't leave alone. I would just keep going back to them.
You were really not selling people on this. A toothache?
Okay, you know what? Like a pain that you're like fidgeting. I don't know. I hated them, but then I would keep reading them. So that's effective horror to me.
No, I get it. I mean, for horror, I guess it's not really about comfort. It's about like what's enticing about the discomfort.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like that, I don't find that in a series like Evil Dead. I find like pure fun. Where a series like that, those book series as a kid, it was all like shocking myself with discomfort.
Next question, Colin. The last one I have for you is sort of what's on your geek card. So what do you think that makes you kind of like a geek or a nerd in some fashion? What are you obsessed with? What's your fandom? What would you like to share with our listeners about you?
I mean, it's pretty standard nerd stuff. I have a huge soft spot for supernatural stuff. And like a big part of that is kind of the fun it allows and the creativity and creature designs and that kind of stuff. And, you can play in the world of metaphor a lot more freely than a lot of other genres. I think Buffy and Angel were really one of my first forays into that and have pretty much remained my all-time favorites.
Hell yeah.
Matt, yeah, and I love the episode you guys did about Hush. That was great. Again, one of my favorites in a pop culture. Massively geeky when it comes to comics, superhero stuff in general. And I didn't really read them too much growing up, but kind of fell in love with them in my late teens. Mainly Marvel stuff. I find myself kind of going back to X-Men a lot. But then also, smaller series. A lot of the Alan Moore stuff was huge for me growing up. Yeah, and then I also played D&D with you, Joseph, and your
I was
lovely
waiting
wife,
for that.
who I think also gave a D&D shout out on the podcast.
I think so. Yeah.
So I mean, pretty standard geek stuff, but like also what's being a geek? It's just like ride or die for your fandoms, right?
Yeah.
Even though mine is
just-
like falls pretty firmly in geek territory.
Yeah, it's just whatever you're into. I mean, like you can be a geek about anything, really.
Yeah, that
we're
word has
we're about that life here. It's blood in, blood out.
Yeah, it's been like, but you're right, that Joe, that word's been like reclaimed, but my fandoms happen to be, traditional geek stuff. So yeah.
Right. Oh, cool. Thanks for sharing, Colin.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, guys?
Well, what?
Beware the moon lads.
That was an awesome accent, dude.
Thank you. Khalid, you want to turn it over to our homeboy Google here?
Let's do it, guys. Today we're talking about the 1981 film written and directed by John Landis. And our homeboy Google has a plot that goes a little something like this. David and Jack, two American college students, are backpacking through Britain when a large wolf attacks them. David survives with a bite, but Jack is brutally killed. As David heals in the hospital, he's plagued by violent nightmares of his mutilated friend, who warns David that he is becoming a werewolf. When David discovers the horrible truth, he contemplates committing suicide before the next full moon causes him to transform from man to murderous beast.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
All right, before we jump into the movie itself, I wanted to ask you guys a question here. So I'm sure you noticed this, and you might have already known the trivia piece, but how many different songs in this movie had Moon in the title, did you notice?
I noticed two, and I really resisted rolling my eyes. It was what is it? It's not what the Moon Dance song that
Yep.
Is it Van Morrison or something?
Yep.
Moon Dance,
yeah.
and then what was the second one? It was
There's
It's
Bad
a-
Moon Rising.
yeah, Bad Moon Rising, that CCR one. Yep.
Yeah, when he's transforming. There's Blue Moon, something Blue Moon earlier on, I think. So I think three. I noticed three. There's probably one more.
So by my count, and I might be off a little bit, 3 different versions of Blue Moon played throughout this film, and Bad
okay.
Moon Rising and Moon Dance. So technically 5 different songs. And I read that he actually tried to get more, but there were rights issues, and some other artists didn't really want their Moon songs to appear in this movie. So
Three's enough. We noticed it. It's,
yeah.
I'll be honest, until I read this description, I didn't know this movie was also supposed to be a comedy. I just thought that was like John Landis couldn't let go of his roots. So I didn't know if it was like intentionally supposed to be funny so much of the way through, including the needle drops.
God, I kind of felt like that too, Khalid. Like this is maybe a room situation where people were laughing and he's like, yeah, it's a comedy.
Right, exactly. Which, I don't know, man, more power to you. It definitely works more as a comedy / horror than an outright horror.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I laughed pretty thoroughly, like unironically at a lot of parts.
Oh, totally.
So what are your initial thoughts, everyone? Just basic. What do you think of the movie?
Oh, so I probably saw this for the first time like 10 years ago, and I was surprised how well it's aged for me. I think, like, first of all, the effects are obviously great. It's the first winner for best makeup that the Oscars ever had, and deservingly so. And it's pretty like effectively dreadful in parts too.
Yeah. Okay, so I also actually really liked it, and I'll be honest, I was very touch and go on if I liked the movie until literally the last 5 minutes, which we'll get to probably in detail. But holy crap, that just completely 180'd my like mild enthusiasm for the movie into just full on, I'm a fan, love me some American Werewolf in London. Yeah, the comedy is pretty good when it's intentional, better when it's unintentional. The action was sick, and I don't know what else to say. We'll get into it.
Yeah, it's hard to really get into my thoughts on it without just full on spoilery talk. But yeah, I think I was like you, Khalid, but the winning over point for me came like way earlier in the halfway through in one of the nightmare scenes.
The nightmare scenes were good.
They were. I'd have to say, so when I first watched this movie, I was a kid, and I've talked before on this podcast about how I've been really into horror ever since I was young. But I had a really strong and long werewolf phase where I rented every werewolf movie I could find from whatever video store we went, and a lot of them were really, really bad. But this one always stuck with me, and I remember I think I had it on VHS at one point, then I got it on DVD, and now I have it on Blu-ray. So it's kind of one of those movies that stuck with me. And I think you're right, Collin, about how it's aged pretty well. There are a few bits of like dialogue that I feel like are kind of stuck in that era that don't quite age well. But I think overall, like the effects like are better than a lot that you see today still. Like, and the Oscar you mentioned is very deserving. And the blending of horror and comedy, it works really well. Whether or not that's intentional or not, like it fits this movie, and the soundtrack, the silliness of all the Moon songs, like just works with it for me too. I appreciate all of it. I like it a lot. I even liked it a lot to the point where when I was a kid, I actually had a copy of the sequel that I would watch occasionally, and we might touch on that a little bit. But I feel like that's a bit commitment where I actually like watch that more than once.
Yeah, you want to live in the American Werewolf universe.
Apparently, I did. Yeah, apparently, I did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree that a lot. You stack up this movie's effects against any werewolf transformation that still has existed, and this movie's almost 40 years old, and it'll probably beat out every single one.
Right. Yeah. Do you guys know any of the history of like how this idea kind of came to be, or how John Landis like sort of started thinking about the idea?
So I'm this is just Wikipedia, so some of it could be a little off, but essentially he was a PA, production assistant, in Yugoslavia for a movie, and he was driving back with one of the locals, and as they were driving, they saw gypsies, which is a problematic term, I guess. I don't know that they're being labeled as such here, so I don't know what they should be called. But they are burying the dead and doing a ritual so that they won't come back from the grave. And I guess that kind of got him onto the idea. And he eventually wrote the first draft of An American Werewolf in London and shelved it for a decade, and went on to make a bunch of other movies that are definitely not like this, like The Blues Brothers and Animal House, and a movie called The Kentucky Fried Movie, which I've never heard of but want to watch now just for the title.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. Yeah, he sat on this movie for a long time, and Landis was actually buddies with Rick Baker, who did the effects too, and I think like they had kind of planned to do this movie for a long time, and actually Rick Baker was eventually attached to do The Howling, which is another werewolf movie that came around the same time, and he had to bow out of that movie to come back to American Werewolf in London because he was finally getting the ball rolling on it. So if you actually see the transformations from those two movies, there's some similarities, because Baker actually had his protege go on to do The Howling transformation scene, and so there's kind of some similar touches, which is kind of interesting to note.
I'm pretty sure that The Howling came out also in 81. And I think I remember just reading an interview with Landis where like there were literally 4 Hollywood werewolf movies in the year 1981. So it's definitely like a zeitgeist thing.
When did it was definitely a boom out?
After this.
Yeah, it was 83, I think, is Thriller, and he directed that video.
Landis?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, that is awesome. We gotta say just for a second, he did. He made a bunch of great stuff. He also made one really awful thing, and that's his son Max Landis. I just feel like it can't go without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I will second that happily.
It just needed to be said. All right, so I did not realize Landis directed this until his name came up on the credits, and that just like completely like took me away out of it for a second. I was like, is there another John Landis, or is this the one I'm thinking about? And then it was the one I was thinking about, and I think it was like 2 seconds into the guys walking that one of the dudes is like, oh yeah, I really have to have sex with that girl. Honestly, she has no say in it. And I was like, yeah, this is Landis.
Yeah.
What is that about?
I found that conversation so interesting because I didn't know if it was just standard Landis, schlock, or if it was trying to, make a comment to what we're about to see. Because I think there's an argument to be made, like the first dialogue they're having is all about a body and the physicality of this body. And the character Jack ends up like, I have to have sex with her. She has no choice. And then essentially a scene later, that's exactly what's happening to him, is he's just being ravished mindlessly. And I found that a nice bit of irony, if it was intentional.
That feels like giving him a little too much credit.
That's a stretch. That's a stretch. Okay.
It's interesting if that's what he was doing. The man is far from stupid. Like he could have definitely put enough forethought into it to do something like that. But then all I could think was like, this is the Animal House guy. This is the National Lampoon guy. They weren't exactly known for their enlightening sexual politics.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I guess either intentional or unintentional, it was a nice bit of irony to know what was about to happen to him.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then they make their way to the little first village that they go to, the one, and this is kind of where everything kicks
with the
off.
pub.
Yeah, and
Slaughtered lamb.
I want to know this village's deal because, okay, so they're a town that's being plagued by werewolves that they are trying, then they'd like to keep hidden. So
Is it multiple werewolves? Because I was confused by that.
Pretty sure it's just one.
If it's just one werewolf, that's even worse. So, okay, they're plagued by a town with one werewolf. So their pub has a wolf head on it, and they all are deliberately suspicious to outsiders. I mean, and they have a pentagram on the wall. This is the worst I've ever seen someone try to conceal a supernatural secret.
Yeah, and I mean, in hindsight, I realized that that's probably a part of the comedy that he was bringing into this, where that's the one thing I did even in the moment appreciate about the movie was like how much it was lampshading how deliberately stupid everybody in a movie has to be for the danger to get as bad as it gets. And again, when we get to the ending, like it was worth it to get to that crazy ass set piece at the end because that couldn't happen without so many people just being willfully stupid about a pretty straightforward thing. That being said, the townsfolk are so fascinating to me. It's the mindset of, okay, there's clearly this huge threat, but we also don't trust anybody outside of our town to do anything about it. But also, we won't do anything about it unless we feel really bad about sending 2 people to their deaths.
That's what I'm getting at here. They're straight up dum-dums. Why would they send those kids out there if they're trying to keep this secret? And then also, one hunting party is pretty easily able to take care of the werewolf. Like, honestly,
it was one dude with a gun could have, like, if he could get off like 2 or 3 shots, it didn't seem like there was anything stopping him.
So here's my thought on this. I think that, so I think all of you guys are absolutely right about what you're saying, but I think, and this is just maybe my headcanon in this, I think that whoever the werewolf was probably a friend of theirs or somebody who lived in the town. So their hopes were not to kill the person and just let him do his thing out in the moors or whatever. But no,
a radiator.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's a lot of better options, but I think that's why they didn't kill him right away. If it's so easy.
Okay,
here's the real question. What were they all doing in the bar on a night with a full moon, knowing full well there's a werewolf on the loose? Okay, like on the one hand, there's the idea that maybe the entire town gets together to just strengthen numbers. On the other hand, where are the women then?
It's just the bartender.
They've been left to do crop outside. I guess I don't know.
My theory, because like the werewolf, like how the rest of the month the werewolf guy is always just like extra horny and like super like prowly, like all the ladies just like shack up with him, and then on a full moon they just like dip out.
I guess. I mean, yeah, they all. I don't know if this is their monthly ritual to go to that pub, but they seem to always be in there when the doctor goes back. Most of them are in there.
They like never leave. Even that Olympic level dart player guy, which you think you'd have something else to do.
Yeah, and that's they even comment on that when they're leaving. Man, that place was messed up, but man, they were good at darts. So that's what they say when they walk away. So that's some of the comedy that I think worked for me. That kind of stuff.
Oh man, I do love that wherever you go, there's always going to be townies.
And I think you're right, Khalid, definitely it's kind of the willful stupidity of everybody involved in a horror movie. And this movie has to be one of the early adopters of kind of like that, playing in that arena of self-awareness as a horror movie.
It's not even willful stupidity. It's like aggressive stupidity. Like,
you're right. Yeah.
The doctor that it becomes the detective halfway through confusingly and still refuses to believe anything he's seeing or hearing.
Right, yeah, and this movie also makes a lot of weird comedic decisions. Like, there's that one cop that's just a little bit of a klutz, and that plot line doesn't go anywhere. It's not significant. It's just kind of there, hanging around for a few scenes.
And it's like, even though he's the klutzy one, he's also kind of the more like appropriate one for the job because he's like, well, Maybe we should listen to the victim if he seems to be so sure that it wasn't just a crazy man that attacked him. Wouldn't it be worth just
Yeah,
considering
and the other
that?
doctor, I mean, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves and we need to get to the werewolf attack, but post that, the other inspector, I thought he was in on it because he's just like brushing aside that there's anything except for a madman that did this. And then at the end, nope, just turns out he's stupid too.
Oh my god, so many stupid people. But yeah, back to the werewolf attack. That why are they just walking through Europe? Is that a thing that people do?
I think they're supposed to be just backpacking, like after graduating college is the setup, like backpacking
Yeah,
through
that's
Europe.
what
So
I
that traditional, whatever stereotypical thing.
Is that literally just walking through entire like countrysides? Because that's dangerous even without werewolves.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing. I'm also not sure like how easily they got off the road. Like you see the moment when they leave the road too.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like
it's right outside the town.
It didn't seem like the road was even turning. Like they just turned.
No. When I watched it, I had to rewind that scene because they're talking about that was weird. They told us to stay to the roads, and then they just instantly wander off. So again,
Oops.
Aggressive stupidity.
I think that was like another cool thing about this movie, where the supernatural is conspiring to make them victims. That's the thing is, it's not just the typical werewolf curse. You can tell there's a supernatural energy in the air that other things are going on. Kind of like the Jennifer's Body episode when we were talking about how that town is just kind of has that energy to it. It's very Sunnydale in that way.
There's actually a lot of similarities between this and Jennifer's Body in a weird way. The whole succubus thing in that movie is very reminiscent of like the werewolf cycle in mythology too. So it's kind of interesting to see that, like having watched these movies so close together.
Yeah, right, she has to feed like once a month, right?
Yeah, and then she feels really good afterwards too, you know.
And built into the werewolf mythology is the kind of like trauma and violence begets trauma and violence, because it's that cycle of like you get attacked, then you're attacked. You know, it's that perpetual kind of violent nature. So I definitely see where that is being placed in this. But I also love that they kill the werewolf that attacked him instantly. So he's removed from the movie right there and then. And what I think what that does,
I mean, if he was still around, there'd have to be that whole requisite go talk to him and find out the truth nonsense, which wouldn't have been fun at all.
Or, I mean, a lot of these movies tend to end up being like the thing that attacks you, then you have to kill and you get your humanity back and you've reclaimed your humanity. But when you remove that element, then the only adversity is David. And that's that really lends itself to that sense of dread of what's going to happen, because we're watching our protagonists be the monster. And I think that's pretty effective.
Agreed. And I think also by getting rid of the original werewolf, they're able to build that mythology of like the cursed bloodline and the idea of whoever the victims have to walk the earth is the undead. I don't think that's been a part of werewolf mythology before that, but I like that piece, how like he's kind of followed around and haunted by everyone that he kills.
That was my favorite part. Yeah.
It's a super interesting wrinkle in that the consequences of that are constantly, with you physically. And yeah, I mean, again, we might be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but it kind of adds to that, maybe an idea of some like survivor's guilt kind of trauma after a trauma, seeing Jack kind of being there.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the scenes, like when he's seeing Jack or some of the other people, like are some of the most haunting, yet interestingly, some of the most funny too at times.
Right. Yeah. Because you first see Jack. David wakes up in the hospital. It's been 3 weeks, which is, they're clearly, bracing us for the next kind of full moon. And Jack shows up and he's horribly maimed. And again, like some amazing makeup happening with him as he eats a piece of toast and his flesh is falling off of his face.
Oh, that dangling neck piece.
Yeah.
They actually had to
so gnarly.
They actually had to cut. Apparently, the toast was supposed to fall through his neck, but apparently that was one aspect that would have given it a NC-17 or X rating or something.
Yeah, I saw that they had to cut that. They had to cut down the sex scene too, yep. Which I was like, okay, it's already pretty substantial. What kind of gratuity was happening before that?
Man,
they just barely made 90s, the R cut.
Man. They knew how to make a sex scene. We ain't got nothing on them. Those 80s and 90s movies, they were basically just like softcore flicks.
Speaking of the sex scene, did you know that John Landis actually filmed the fake porno they're watching in the Piccadilly Circus Theater over there?
Yes, and I really want to talk about the porno that's playing when he's in there, because that was the hardest laugh I got out of the movie, was that porno. Because
the dude coming in?
The dude, okay, there's two people, the porno that is set up, there's two people having sex. A guy walks in, he says, "Hey, what are you doing? You promised never do this again." And then the girl says, "I've never seen you before."
The guy says first. He says it first.
Yeah, I never promised you that. He's like, "No, not you, her." And then she says, "I've never seen you before." And then the guy says, "Oh, sorry," and then leaves.
He just leaves.
and he's topless, which
yeah, I thought,
there's so many questions.
The trajectory of the porno would be he would join in or whatever, but he leaves, and John Landis shot this and put this in the movie, and it was the
first thing they shot of this movie. Apparently, it's called the movie "See You Next Wednesday" was the fake title, but it's the first thing they shot of this whole movie, and then they had to like produce it and then put it in there.
So this movie was built around that porno.
You could make that case, I guess.
Was that the naughty Nina chick from the commercial?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I rewound that scene because I'm like, is there significance here I'm missing with that extended commercial that plays?
That was
is there? I don't know. I still don't know.
I think it's just, I don't know. I mean, Landis is just really fixated on sex in this movie. I mean, in a lot of his movies, but with this one especially, he really dwells on that.
Right. And yeah, because David is clearly very like sexed up in his like in between the full moons and kind of like manic, like riding a high, which it makes him a little less likable. That, I mean, even when he gets out of the hospital, he's ready to go. He's back on vacation again.
I mean, it's like mood swing after mood swing with the guy, but it's so interesting because we just we did The Fly a couple episodes back, and that was essentially the same metamorphosis that Jeff Goldblum's character went through. I don't know. I mean, you could probably just like create a timeline for both of these movies, and they track for a lot of it.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's an apt comparison. Yeah, I mean, if you were going to try to draw a succinct metaphor, and I don't think this movie is intentionally playing in that at all, but if you were going to draw it like maybe to some sort of like personality disorder after a trauma, because he does have those crazy mood swings where he's like completely focused on sex, and then the next second later questioning his entire existence, and there's some like Nicolas Cage level kind of stuff going on here.
Completely agree. Honestly, in a different world, Nicolas Cage could have killed this role.
Absolutely. I mean, I was most reminded of it when we get to the main werewolf transformation about an hour in. He's calmly reading a book and then just screams out Jesus Christ at the top of his lungs. And that is probably the most like scenery chewing scene, I think, of the whole movie. It's just that little transition.
I did like David Naughton a lot. I had to double check that it wasn't Elliot Gould because they kind of look alike to me.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's another thing. I thought the two leads looked alike from the beginning. So I was like, oh, is this going to be a problem for me?
You heard about the David Naughton Dr. Pepper story about this, right?
Yeah,
no, I did not.
Yeah, he was the face of the Dr. Pepper campaign. Like, I don't know, it's like I'm a Pepper or something. He would sing a song, and then after doing this movie, they wouldn't let him do it anymore because of all the nude scenes.
He was pretty nude for a lot of it.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Wrong.
I mean, a substantial portion of his screen time is nude. But yeah, I mean, so we get the first werewolf attack in 15 minutes. And then it's not really till an hour that the transformation kind of happens. And this is like the iconic scene. If you know anything about the movie, you've seen this clip of him transforming. And I mean, that's a high point, I think, for the movie. Actually, you know what? I am kind of leapfrogging the mutant Nazi nightmare scene.
I was going to say, we got to talk about
That's where I was going to go next. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We got it. Yeah. That to me, when the point that rolls around is where you're probably like, this is nonsense, or I'm fully committed to wherever this movie is going to take me. Is the bonkers level that you see in that nightmare.
So what do you guys think that scene means anything, or do you think it's nonsense?
That's just a good question. I mean, they deliberately set up that he's Jewish earlier in
Yeah.
the movie.
So there's actually so I have the Blu-ray from Arrow. Arrow has a bunch of extra special features on. It was just released like last year too, but there's actually a video essay on how this film supposedly explores the Jewish identity. But apparently, this dream sequence is supposed to actually reflect that in a lot of ways. It's supposed to reflect some of his deepest fears of living as a Jewish person in a post-Holocaust world. So that's the Nazi bit, but also his newest fears about the idea of being attacked by a monster and turning into a monster all in one. So it's supposed to roll all that into one thing, and how he could hurt the people closest to him. So apparently, there's a lot to it. I never got that until I read about it, though.
Right. I mean, the first time you watch it, it takes you. You had no idea it was going there. Everything shifs, and it's like a full sequence. It's not like a nightmare jump scare. They invade.
No, it's
they
a
like
long
invade
scene.
his. Yeah, they invade his home. They make a point of showing like they're watching the Muppets and his family, and they brutally gun down his family while holding a knife to his neck.
Real knife, nonetheless. That's not a prop. He apparently David Naughton said he was a little stressed out because it was a real knife, and the actor holding it like couldn't see very well through the mask.
Why would it have to be a real knife?
I don't know. He was also in a cage with real wolves at one point. I don't think Landis has much care for safety on set.
No, I mean this was 40 years ago. I mean you could, yeah. The wolves are effective, but there's absolutely no reason they didn't have a knife.
Horse in Animal House.
Oh, I think you should be very concerned about that horse in Animal House. I think you should be concerned about any horse you see in a movie before like 2010.
Oh man, when was Seabiscuit?
Oh, no. This is a rabbit hole.
Not Seabiscuit.
All right, Khalid, I want to hear. We're going to move ahead a little bit, but I want to hear your thoughts on the final sequence. You said that's sort of what turned you into a fan. Tell me about that.
Oh my god, that final sequence. Everything basically from when he goes into that adult theater and transforms to the last shot of the movie was so amazing, so overwhelming. My senses were firing off at all synapses. I don't know what else to say. I do know what else to say. I'm gonna say it. When he murders everybody in that theater, and then the cops show up, and that cop walks in, and despite seeing a very clearly mauled body at the doorway, decides to go further into the theater and sees the wolf, and then somehow manages to run away in time to shut the door and tell everybody to get back. And everybody's like, well, what's this then? And they start walking up to the door, and then the other cop that's been belligerent this entire time shows up just when I'm taking all the good stuff, guys. I don't want to take all the good stuff.
No, go for it, Khalid.
He comes in literally at the moment when the werewolf busts through the metal gate and latches directly on him. This is the Michael Jordan of werewolves, guys. He got the shot the first time, beheaded him with one bite.
Yeah.
and then he what did he do? He derailed a lorry? Is that what that thing is called?
I mean, you gotta admire this movie for the balls to set your creature feature climax in one of the most populated places available to humans.
The budget, the coordination that must have gone into this, insanity. And then it's just
and it totally delivers.
It's pure chaos.
And the wolf, he basically indirectly murders as many people as he deliberately murders with that chaos that ensues.
Oh my God. I do not know how you explain this the next day on the news.
The world would be changed. There'd be no way to cover this up. Werewolves are now real.
Biggest missed opportunity for the sequel. What does a world knowing about werewolves do? Yeah,
that's an interesting movie. But yeah, no, so he starts absolute next level bonkers what's taking place. And what was I going to bring up? Oh yeah, I mean there's like 4 people that go through windshields. I don't know if people don't wear their seatbelts in the 80s, but that was a substantial amount of the murders.
It was haunting too. He would just cut back to a random dead body. You wouldn't have to even seen how they died. Just there's another one.
And are those people now cursed to walk the earth as the undead? I mean, the wolf didn't kill them, but they're dead 100% because he was there.
And it has, like, for me, I love that very final moment in it because it's such a logical conclusion. This isn't a clever monster or anything. It's just pure instinct, and it's doing its thing, and it wound up in the most chaotic scenario. And so when it gets backed into an alley, I'm like, that makes sense. It has no idea where it's going. Even David didn't know where he was going. He was just he was a tourist in London, so there's neither animal or man would know where they're going in London in that situation. So ending up in a data alley made sense. Getting cornered by a bunch of cops, that was so cool. I'm not a big like cops and guns guy, but when they're just like loading the rifles, like time to go wolf hunting, like that was super cool in the back of the police van. But and then his I guess girlfriend at this point. We never really talked about her, but the character Nurse Price, she was good. I will say Jenny Agutter is the actress's name. I just want to say, like, aside from that whole weird like male fantasy of her like immediately throwing herself at him, and like just quick aside, what were writers like in the 80s that they thought that a woman just tells you her entire sexual history unprompted that soon? Like, it was just weird to me. I don't know. It just felt like a male fantasy of like, not only is she going to hook up with you, she's going to let you know just how much like she's done in the past and how that she's actually not that bad. So you can get in there
and not expect that information from the male in return.
And not at all. We don't hear anything about his past.
No, not at all.
But anyways, back to the ending there. When she shows up and just like busts through the crowd of cops and runs up to him just as he gets shot, and the final shot is just his dead body. It's just chef's kiss. So freaking good.
I mean, I got some real like King Kong vibes at that moment of, you know, the beast monster kind of like romance, and then that's the last thing he kind of sees. He even mentions earlier in the movie, I think you can only be killed by someone who loves you, and then she's the last one there. So yeah, it comes around.
And that final cut to credits too, right to the song.
Yep, another wolf song. Yeah,
another moon song. Yeah, I mean, a great way to follow up that moment.
And like the movie locks itself into that conclusion very early. That doesn't pose any clever way out of what's happening here. There's no way to outwit this. Again, the adversary is himself. So he's just kind of prolonging the inevitable by not taking his own life. Basically, those are the two options presented to him.
I mean, right. Yeah, he was put in such a hard position. I get it. And he even tried with that little Boy Scout knife in the phone booth, and I don't know. I really felt for him. I mean, he wasn't a perfect person, which is probably why I was able to relate to him more.
Yeah, but I also there were points in the movie where, I mean, I think he was kind of being a prick to Jack for a lot of the movie. Jack is showing up. He's been viciously mauled, painfully screaming, and then now learns he is cursed to walk the earth in limbo. And David just pretty much just keeps telling him to piss off because he wants to get laid, basically.
I mean, that could have just been survivor's guilt, like you said, though. I mean, I don't know that I would, even as vivid appearance as he's got there, how he's showing up and everything consistently, I don't know that I would believe that he's actually a ghost versus just, I'm kind of going crazy because I was traumatized in an attack that killed my friend.
Yeah, and I think like there's something to be said about the empathy you could have for like David for not quite believing it and like telling him to go away. But I was also, as you're saying that, Collin, I was wondering, Jack's obviously traumatized. Like, does an undead person like feel trauma the same way that we would? Like, he's probably going through some stuff too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's horribly decaying, which again, the makeup is so effective. I mean, the last scene in the theater, he's just a puppet. It's not even an actor at that point. It holds up so well, that effect they do in the theater with him. Yeah,
I think actually this is a good segue moment to start going into the monster itself, the werewolf itself, I wanted to touch on some of the effects that actually went into this, and I'm glad that you're pointing out the effects of the corpse effects, the decaying Jack effects, because the makeup there is just phenomenal. Like all of that really holds up well, but I mean the iconic werewolf transformation scene is sort of what most people come to this movie like knowing about from pop culture knowledge. But interestingly, when Landis and Baker were initially working on this, Baker had initially thought about a creature like a bipedal, like lycanthrope type thing, like the original Wolfman, because this actually is a universal movie. So in a sense, like they were trying to update the Wolfman mythology by doing this. But Landis had a specific vision, and he said something about wanting more of a hellhound type beast that roamed on all fours. So the transformation scene is interesting just because the team spent months working on different heads and limbs for the close-up shots. And one of the things that I thought was really impressive was the hair growing scene. They actually strung a bunch of little hairs through like a latex skin and filmed the hairs like being pushed through this, or pulled down through it. So like they filmed it and played it in reverse to show the hair growing out. And then the stretching effect was achieved through like close-ups and like moving things and like clever puppetry and duplicate heads and limbs. And at one point, when you see like his whole body, like David Naughton's actually underneath the floor with his head up, and they have like a fake body entirely that's just wiggling and writhing on the floor.
Yeah, I read it took 6 days to shoot that.
Yeah, it was months and months to make it all. About a week to shoot. Yeah. And like,
and one whole day was that half torso suspended beneath the floorboards, just an entire day.
I think so. Rick Baker was actually, I think, initially a little annoyed about how little time was spent with some of the props they spent so long making. Like he was like, "Oh, you're done after this long? I made this it took so long making this." But he actually, like, I think when he saw the actual scene, he was like, "Okay, yeah, this is good."
And that scene is again, like lives up to the iconic stature it has, because I've never wanted to be a werewolf less than that scene. The like hand elongating stuff, it's bordering on the Cronenberg body horror stuff. It's so effective.
It's so miserable.
I was very impressed with the hand elongating. I don't like I kept trying to think about how sophisticated VFX would have had to have been back then to even pull that off, but everything you're saying about how long it took to shoot it just makes more sense.
This must have been one of the selling points of the movie, because it really is like the crux of what we're seeing. And again, like that's, I think, where you feel for David the most is probably that transformation scene.
Absolutely. They, like you said, they really make it feel like a miserable, just horrible experience. And I appreciate that. I don't know if movies today would actually spend the time like showing that, like, well, no, like transformation. Yeah.
We were making fun of Taylor Lautner earlier. In those movies, it's I would say half a second transformation of a guy busting through shorts into a wolf. They really have forgone a lot of that, the misery of being a werewolf. There's no downside to being a werewolf in the Twilight movies. None. Absolutely none. But this movie is like, this is the
look. To wear jean shorts. That I guess to be a weird stipulation.
Yeah, only jean short. Yeah, they do have a uniform, so maybe, I'm not digging that. But the freedom to be a giant wolf and run around, and you get to be a CGI wolf too. You don't have to have a 10-hour makeup wolf.
Oh yeah, I do agree with something like a werewolf. It's got to be practical or bust. I don't know. It's the same reason I couldn't get into the Underworld movies that much. I don't want to see a cartoon dog like getting shot at. It's just not cool.
I think part of it too from this is like the filmmaking of this era too. Like there was like, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into CGI effects and that, but the practical effects, I feel like just all the work that gets in, like the movies back then would spend so much more time just like fixating on those like effects shots. Like look at like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is like, I think 10 years before, but there's so much time you spend on like those shots with an overture of music, or the first Star Trek movie is like a 10-minute circle around the Enterprise the first time you see it. Like you're not going to see that in movies now anymore at all.
Yeah. And the people back then had to creatively problem solve their way around the lack of kind of CGI stuff. And that ended up producing things like this that have become timeless. Again, this is 40 years old. Yeah. And Yeah, again, just so effective. It's miserable, and they're acutely aware of the lack of like realism in the wolf itself, because it's always shot, half the body and quick kind of bite close ups. But then like the first time you actually kind of see the wolf is when he's stalking that guy in the subway, and he kind of half comes out of that shot, and is again just so effectively creepy.
Yeah, I love that scene. He actually, so the full on wolf is actually like a costume. And then I think it sounded like a person would wear the front half, but with the person's body was on kind of like a dolly. So he was like using his front arms to kind of run around, but was rolling. And so the back legs, you never really see the back legs of the wolf, but it's actually kind of like they look kind of tiny if you're able to zoom in while you're watching it, and they're actually like being controlled through puppetry. So the front part of the werewolf is actually the more realistic part of the back. I'm sure if you saw a real picture of it, the back is just like a dude on a dolly, like laying on it.
Speaking of puppetry, what was the deal with the Muppets interlude?
Well,
Frank Oz cameo.
Yeah, Frank Oz.
Oh, okay.
Is a co-creator or puppeteer for Muppets? Do you know?
He voices a ton of them. He voices Miss Piggy, Fozzie. He voices Yoda even in Star Wars. He's just like he's a huge part of the Muppets, and he's just one of the more famous puppeteers out there. But he has a cameo in this movie. Colin, do you know the part?
I know it. He's the American embassy guy in the hospital that David first talks to, like, hey, we've talked to your parents. I'm going to give the police permission. First of all, he looks exactly like Tobias Funke. If you're trying to place him, he even sounds like David Cross. But that he has a line that says like, these dumbass kids don't appreciate what you give them, and apparently that was in protest of the Muppets being canceled, like a meta line that was put into the movie, and then the Muppets is later on the screen.
I was wondering why he was like so weirdly hostile to this person that just got out of a 3-week coma.
It's such a weird scene. But...
and he says he has lines like, "Calm down, dude." I remember thinking that, and that's why I looked it up, because I'm like, what is this? And then I saw the Frank Oz credit, and that's led me down the rabbit hole of the Muppet stuff.
Yeah, it's such a weird scene, but it's so funny. Like I found that scene hilarious. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, another little goofy part, like the cop who's again just slightly a klutz, not even that much of a klutz.
Yeah, just slightly.
And you brought up Universal, Joe, and I'm glad you did, because one of the things I admire so much about this movie is that they have a word for werewolf. Like, everybody knows what a werewolf is. They reference movies with werewolves. Like, we're living in a world that has that template already, and that allows them to just leapfrog so much grueling exposition that I see in other horror movies. Essentially, the trope in a movie like this is the characters have to go find like a dingy little occult bookstore or something, and then they find the one ancient book that has the myth that is, plaguing the characters. And this movie doesn't have to deal with any of that. He wakes up. The only exposition they have to deal with is Jack being like, "So you're a werewolf, and until you die, I'm kind of effed."
Yeah, and then even later on, he just talks about it. He's like, "Have you seen The Wolfman?" It's like, it's kind of like that,
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was such a. I mean, even if it is a cop out, it was such a such a great way to just sidestep a lot of exposition and spending time in that "what's happening" phase of horror.
Yeah, I think that's part of what makes this movie so effective too. And like you said, like they didn't have to go search for the mythology. Like, it has hints of its own mythology in there, like whatever the heck the star was. But I think the biggest part about it is just the idea of the cursed undead that follow him around, like we talked about earlier. And that's such a cool invention for the werewolf curse. And I also love the line when he's contemplating like how to kill himself, and then he's like, "Do I need a silver bullet?" And they're like, "Oh, be serious, David."
Yeah, no, that's where you see that Landis.
That's the line. I was like looking at a cockeyed like, okay, so that's the dumb question here.
That's the one piece of mythology that is universal for werewolves, and then that's the one that they balk at. But that's an example of the movie just always going for these jokes. Like, even later in that scene when he starts transforming in the porno theater, I mean, it's clearly, like he's ejaculating. That's what all the other people in the theater think. And I forgot that joke was in there, and it actually made me laugh.
Speaking of ejaculating, I think sometimes bears do that, Khalid.
Really, Joe?
Ooh.
Oh, these segues are.
Really?
You're getting worse at
Wow.
these, I think.
That was a rough one, but I saw an opportunity. I took it.
That's okay. Okay.
I don't. You would have made that opportunity. You didn't see that opportunity. You made that opportunity.
I was probably just waiting for someone to bring it up this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Khalid, 4 bears test.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That just threw me for a loop.
Glad I can still surprise you.
You trust me. If you start any sentence with "speaking of ejaculating," you're gonna get a double take out of people. Okay, so 4 bears test. If this is your first episode, basically every episode I ask the dumb but kind of smart, if you ask certain people, question: what would happen if you replace the monster that we're discussing with 4 bears? It's a way to judge the merit of the creature outside of the narrative that it inhabits. So I guess with this one, there have to be a couple caveats to it. The big one being that it would have to be that the 4 bears only attack once a month versus whenever they want because they're 4 bears. I think if we can agree on that, then it's probably a pass, because strength wise, this werewolf definitely seems stronger than the average wolf, and also kind of stronger than the average bear. Granted, it's just taken down by bullets, but strength level wise, like the maulings and stuff like that, the attacks that happen the first time he transforms in London, that could have easily been perpetrated by 4 bears. Especially, I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but the cab driver's talking about how it's like a few different, like, spread out parts in London. So, like, at that point, yeah, it could have just been 4 bears and they, like, split up and, like, go and attack 4 different people versus a very fast werewolf. And then the final sequence, my favorite part, when the chaos goes down, that could have very easily happened almost exactly the same way if all of a sudden 4 bears were dropped in Piccadilly. So, yeah, I'm going to have to say that this is a very clear-cut pass. What say you?
Yeah, this is probably the most clear-cut example you're going to have for the 4.
Yeah, I love that the like you mentioned, the chaos of the scene in the Piccadilly Circus. Actually, I feel like that harkens back a lot to the host when you kind of came up with the 4 bears test, like the idea of the creature just being dropped in the middle of an area, like a crowded space, and just like wreaking havoc and chaos because it's so animalistic. So yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example of a pass.
Mm-hmm. Easy pass.
Oh yeah. And which also brings us to another segment, Khalid. I am curious as to what you would do in this situation, because we've had similar conversations. But you're in London, you're a backpacker, you happen upon a werewolf in Piccadilly Circus. Do you try to fight it, or do you try to flirt your way out of impending doom?
I want to say fight it, because it sounds like, 4 or 5 gunshots into the body and it's down, but that also implies that I carry a gun, which I don't. So if I'm unarmed, and that thing is like on the prowl, I know after watching this movie that aside from being a terrifying beast, it's also incredibly horny. So I think I'm going to try and, like, appeal to its wiles. I'm not necessarily going to bet it, but I'm going to take advantage of the werewolf being so easily, like, amorous and aroused, and I'm going to try and, sweet talk it, try to figure out its interests and see if I can talk through the night, see how many hours of flirtatious energy I have in me. So yeah, I'm going to go with, okay, I'm gonna give it a fight it if I have a gun with enough bullets, and flirt it if I don't.
All right,
that sounds logical. I think the movie posits you should flirt with it, because right? Alex survives. He doesn't. I mean, I guess he kind of tries to attack her at the end, but she seems to do all right.
She was getting through to him a little bit.
Yeah.
Nah, he was gonna bite her head off.
Okay,
Maybe your
but
flirting wouldn't work, Khalid.
no, well, I think
I didn't say it would work, but that's like what am I
That's
going
what
to
you would
hit
do.
it? Like,
well, Nurse Alex got her head bit off. We wouldn't know what Khalid would do. Maybe he would be better. I don't know what he would bring some better game.
Possibly.
Colin, I think you're implying that I'm prettier than her, and I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for agreeing.
I just some of our audience wouldn't be able to read between the lines, but I pick up what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thanks
no,
for
I think
spelling it
that I think he would have been a lot calmer seeing you.
Yeah, I have a soothing presence. I think everyone would agree about that.
Before we head on to our final segment, I wanted to ask you both. We touched on it just briefly in the beginning, but like, what is your relationship to the sequel? Khalid, you said that the sequel was actually the only one you'd seen before this. So why don't we start with you? What do you think about the American Werewolf in Paris?
So I was really young when I saw it, and I thought that was the one we were gonna do. The London, the Paris, I got confused. So last episode, I said that this was the one that terrified me when actually it was the Paris one, and I don't remember much about it again because it scared the crap out of me. I just remember watching it and the guy transforming, and there must have been like a gruesome scene or something. Again, like I think I maybe saw it once or twice, got freaked out, and it was one of those like bad movies that they would show on TV all the time back in the day. So it was just always on, and I would always go, "Nope, I'm good. I watch everything, but not this."
How about you, Colin?
No, I have not seen the sequel. I've been told not to see the sequel. Everything online seems to point to the not having any self-awareness and being kind of a terrible parody of this movie.
Yeah. So I like I said, I used to have it when I was a kid. Also, I had it on, I think, DVD at the time. It's not good. I feel like the through line for the movies is it heavily implies that Alex had a daughter who has the werewolf, I guess, gene or something. I don't know. So the daughter's a werewolf. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense entirely, especially I don't want to get into that, but the plot's silly. Everything, the effects are really not good, given that it's supposed to be a follow-up to like such a movie that has such iconic effects. So I think that's kind of an insult to a little bit in and of itself. But there are some interesting thoughts, like Khalid, what you were saying, it scared you. Like that movie did scare me a lot when I was young, because there's the part where they like lock all the people in clubs and try to like, they lure people to like these cool French dance parties apparently. And then they lock the doors and the werewolves transform and eat everyone there. So it's kind of the thing they do. And then there's like werewolves chasing people in the subway tunnels. And I thought that was kind of a creepy claustrophobic moment. But other than that, there's not much, I think, worthwhile about it. So I don't know, Colin, you might throw it on. Like it might be interesting to just watch and just know the context of it. But anyone listening, I don't recommend it, honestly.
So it's not bad enough to be fun. Does it get to those levels?
I think there are elements that are fun. I think elements are fun. Like it's kind of funny at times, maybe unnecessarily. There are definitely attempts at humor in it. Like it tries to be a comedy at times. But
is Landis involved at all?
Nope, not at all.
And neither Rick Baker, I'm assuming, either.
Oh, I don't think so. I would hope not.
Okay. Well, now that just having watched this movie, I'm interested enough that I will probably seek it out.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Well, you let me know what you think when you watch it.
I will. I for sure will.
So anyway, that leads us to our final segment. Just to wrap up the episode, we call it What the Fandom. And in the What the Fandom segment, we each share just something that we're obsessed with right now, something that we're into, something that we wanted to plug that we think you listeners might be into or enjoy or maybe relate to in some manner. So why don't we start with you, Khalid? And Colin, if you don't know the question, you can think a little bit before.
Sure.
Go ahead, Khalid.
Okay, so you were rudely surprised when I recommended a book last time. So I decided to double down and recommend another book, Joe, because don't put me in a box. All right. You can't do that. I am unboxable.
I'm secretly motivating you to read more.
All right. Well, don't manipulate me either. I'm unmanipulatable and I'm unboxable. Just don't try it. But I do have a book for this week. This episode. It is a book by the BoJack Horseman creator Raphael Bob Waxberg, and it's a collection of short love stories called Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory. And I picked it up when I went to a wedding in Portland last year, and I read it, and I really, really liked it. So it's been a while since I read it, but it stuck with me. Some of the stories are super cool. And if you've seen BoJack Horseman, you know that this guy does a really good job, definitely walking that line of comedy and sincerity. And he really brings all of that to the book in a way that it's just a fun, pleasant read. So if you're I know we've all got these quarantine days where there's not as much to do and you've already binged everything you want to see. So this is definitely a good break from that. And I don't know. It's great. The art is cool too. It's George Washington holding up the title of the book for some reason. Not for some reason. If I remember, there is a George Washington story. But yeah, it's great. I don't know what else to say about it other than that. It's definitely worth it. It's like $12 for a physical copy of the book, probably cheaper for a Kindle or audio book version. So if you're looking for some fun short stories to kill these hot summer days, that's one to look out for.
Could you say the name of the title and the author again, Khalid?
Yes, Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory by Raphael Bob Waxberg.
Cool. How about you, Collin? What the fandom?
Well, this doesn't need a plug because it's huge, but recently I've just been finished up The Umbrella Academy on Netflix.
Ooh.
And I found it to be super enjoyable. And then I went back and read the graphic novel for it, everything that was available, and was also just very weird in the best way possible. It's so out there. And I end up doing that a lot with like series that are based on graphic novels or source materials. I did that with The Boys. Maybe that one needs a plug, not the show, but the comic. Go back and read The Boys. I love it so much, and it's very different from the show. So maybe two comics, Umbrella Academy and The Boys.
Nice. Khalid recommended the Umbrella Academy show a couple episodes back too, so I haven't watched it yet. So I feel like the double recommendation. No. I got to get on it.
It's really well done. And they put a lot of money in it, and it shows. And the kid that played Five is so great. Oh, he steals every scene, and he's out acting 30-year-olds all around him.
Yeah, you going toe to toe with Ellen Page? Get out of here.
Right. But yeah, no, that's been very enjoyable for me. And it kind of plays in the geeky, supernatural, sci-fi superhero genre. So good time.
Cool. I guess I'll go next. My fandom. Yeah.
As opposed to.
Yeah.
Thanks, Khalid. I wanted to plug. One thing I've just been excited about, kind of rekindling my excitement for, is the tabletop gaming. So, Collin, you know this since you're in our little campaign group, but we've started up playing Dungeons and Dragons again. We started on Roll20 using Discord, which has been fun. It's a change. I think it was a little bit of a learning curve, but it kind of reinvigorated my excitement a little bit for playing. I don't know. If you're a fan of monsters, I feel like you would probably be a fan of D&D. My character's a giant lizard man. You're a, I don't know, a half person or something.
I'm a half elf. I'm a half person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, I'm not half a body. It's not like I'm an upper torso walking around. I'm half a human.
Yeah. And I also wanted to shout out another game. I started a tabletop campaign based game called Gloomhaven, which is it's similar to D&D in some ways, where it's like a long campaign over a long period of time, but all of it's in the box, like a 30-pound box you get, and you get like your characters all mapped out already. So it's a lot of the work is done for you, but you're still role playing, and you're like moving your characters across the board, and you have to build the different boards, add stickers to it. It's a really involved process. But in that one, my character is a mind thief who's essentially a telepathic anthropomorphic rat, which I thought was a cat at first, and a little disappointed to find out it was a rat, but it's okay. I still like it. But anyway, tabletop gaming is kind of fun. Lots of monsters, lots of weird fantasy stuff. So that's my what the fandom for this episode. Yeah,
that's a good way to virtually connect with people too.
Agreed.
Instead of just chatting on Zoom, play a tabletop game. You don't really need any materials, and it's all imagination based.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff out there to help you facilitate it too. Anyway, Collin, before we leave you, where can we find you online, and what do you have to plug?
Don't find me online, I think, first. No reason to. That's fine. But if you do, I'm starting a podcast with a good friend of mine, and we're going to be doing bad movies and kind of bad pieces of pop culture, because there's a special place in my heart for bad things that are so fun they're bad, and it's a little bit mean-spirited sometimes, but I think, I don't know, they're just as fun. In our first episode, we wanted to be accessible to and do something a lot of people have seen, so we're going to tackle the Twilight movie. And you can draw a thin line maybe from this podcast to that. Just if you want to see kind of the worst case scenario perversion of horror, listen to this podcast I'm going to do about Twilight. I haven't recorded it yet, but there's in all likelihood by the time this episode's out, it will be. And I'm sure Joe will be nice enough to put it in the podcast notes.
Only Joe.
All right. Well, Collin, thank you so much for joining us today. Well, like I said, we'll definitely have you back on. Yeah.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, man, it was really great talking to you.
Yeah, I love this movie. I love you guys. This was fun.
Love you too, buddy.
We love you too.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We don't have anything lined up yet, but check out the socials for what the next episode will be. And until next time, creep it easy.
Thank you.